And if I had time, would go through this exercise together. But what is it people say about adoption? When you say, I'm thinking about adoption, very rarely will people cheer you. In fact, people are shocked. Do you know what you are going to, do you know what you are doing? Hey, adopted children, they'll come into your house, they'll kill you. When they grow up, they'll take your things, they'll forget what you've done, they'll kill you. And they will use stories. Remember Betty, Tet, remember this and the other. But I say, flip the coin. It may or may not happen, true. But we have stories even in media of biological children who've turned rogue and killed their parents. Do we? Yes or no? Yes. There are people who will say, I don't know where this child came from, so I'm not sure about their genes. I don't know if they will even do well academically. But even with biological children, do you have a guarantee that your children will do well in school? Do you have a guarantee that your children will not have any medical conditions? We don't. Anything a biological foster child can do, an adopted child can do. I want to share very briefly on what foster care means. The New Children Act is really at the forefront and pushing us towards foster care, and we're receiving it and doing everything we can towards this. So foster care is just a temporary placement of a child or children in the care of a person who's not their parent. The word is temporary, all right? So you're not the parent, you're not a relative, you're not a guardian, but you're willing to take care of that child temporarily, all right? And there are two forms or two types of foster care. One is short-term, usually between 24 hours, especially in emergencies, and up to about 3 months, okay? And then there's a long-term foster care, which will be about 1 to 3 years. Again, this is temporal. This is not your child by right, okay? It's just a temporal process. Adoption, on the other hand, is where a child is permanently placed with a legal parent or parents who are not his or her biological parents, and thereby vesting the parental rights and responsibilities relating to the child on the person who's adopting this child. And when you come to court, the High Court, one of the questions as you're adopting, you're asked, do you know that this process cannot be revoked? That this is now going to be permanent? And they also asked, do you know that this child has also rights to inherit? And so you must acknowledge. And so we are very grateful that especially within the last Children Act, at New Life, over 85% of our children were legally placed in adoption, meaning even if anything happens to the mom or dad, that children has rights in that family. Now, who qualifies to foster or adopt children? Okay, you must be a Kenyan citizen, a resident of Kenya, not less than 12 months. Since 2014, Kenya had put a moratorium or a stop on inter-country adoptions. Before that, people would be able to adopt even if they were from some of the foreign countries. You must be aged between 25 and 65, all right? You must have give consent to this, or your family members, if you have children, they must give consent, even if you have biological children, that they understand and they're happy and they're welcoming this new member of their family. Then you'll be required to have a certificate of good conduct. You'll be required to give a medical report, and all these things, there'll be people who will help you and guide you through them. You're not left on your own. There's a process, very guided. You will get support. There are counselors. Where need be, will even connect you to other parents who've gone through this process. You must demonstrate the ability to meet, that you're able to meet the needs of a child. Now, many people think you need to be very, very wealthy. You must stay in Runda to adopt. We've actually placed children even in the informal sector, even in Kibera, even in the deep, deep of the Ushago. I will never forget one family that we went to see, and the adoption agency had given us the documents. And we went to see this family, and the house was very small. It was a mud house, it was very dark. And they had been told that they need to put a little something on the ceiling, on the roof, to just add some light. And when I went for that visit with the adoption agency, they were so proud of a little transparent mabati that they had put on the corner. And they were saying, now there is light. Then I remember looking at that homestead. Remember, this is a mud house, all right? I looked around and there was a grandmother in another house. You know how a homestead is? There was an uncle. I could see a shamba with some sukuma, some bananas. There was chicken. And I thought, surely this child will be surrounded by love. This child has food to eat, has people around them. Sometimes even in our rundas and all that, there may be more loneliness than what this child will get. So you're not disqualified because of your accounts or because of your salary. All right? There's provision for everyone. Then you must show that you can meet the developmental needs of this child, the same way that you would your own, that you'll be there and able to support the child psychologically and in all ways. And we always tell people, it is not shameful to adopt. So be open. My son knows he's adopted. And because I work in New Life, of course he comes to New Life. And he will tell me, and he'll tell other people, you know, I grew up from here. My mom came when I was little, and she took me. And now, we're getting to the place where his classmates are beginning to wonder, what does that word adoption mean? And so we use even Bible stories like Moses, and say some children have two mummies, but that mommy loved this child so much, but couldn't take care of this baby, and so now God brought you to the second mommy. So we begin to disclose to the child in small doses as they go along. And there's no shame. One of my friends has 3 adopted children. And I remember one time taking the children to a musical. And I didn't know that this child who's adopted, there were 3 children, 1 adopted, 2 from a biological family. I didn't know the adopted child knew she had come from New Life. And so we are driving down Lanana and we come around the corner and the adopted child says, oh, New Life. That's where my mommy and daddy got me. And initially I froze. And I thought, now, how are we going to handle this? Very quickly, the 2 who are biological children started laughing. What do you mean you came from that place? You came from your mommy's tummy. And this child, she was about 6. And her parents had walked this path well with her. She said, no, some children, all of us come from our mommy's tummy. But me, I didn't come from my mom, the mommy you know. Me, my mommy and daddy, they were so sad that they didn't have babies. Then they came to New Life. And when we arm our children with that knowledge and help them understand how precious they are, even though we did not give back to them, we will raise amazing people. After this session, go do a Google search today or tomorrow of great leaders who were adopted. You'll be shocked. Even adopted children make great world leaders because a child is a child. And so call us for more information. You can send an email to info@New Life Home Trust. Any questions you may have on adoption, on foster care, we are happy to walk this journey with you. And as I see with many parents coming back, even those who began fearful, those who wanted to hide, you know, many of them walk tall and they're so happy and things have changed. I know of marriages that almost broke because of issues of infertility, but God used adoption and now foster care to do amazing things in families and even in the lives of children. So get in touch with us and we'll give you a lot more detail than I could tonight. Asanteni sana.
Once again, please help me appreciate Dr. Janet Mutinda, National Director, New Life Home Trust. After that presentation, you have to be a believer in adoption. I think that's a really impassioned presentation, encouraging us to believe and to also understand that it's not a second form of having a baby. It's actually a primary way to get a baby and have a baby in a family. Like that, 85% of children put in families. That's phenomenal. And congratulations on your 30 years anniversary. I think I can attempt to do the bike ride. I'm not promising I join the mountain, the climbing the mountain. Bike ride, a bike ride, at least if I get to Paleju, Nairobi school, I can give a detour and I'm like, at least I tried and ride back. I want to invite all our presenters back to the stage. Just before we go for dinner, in case anybody has a question, I want to invite Dr. Mutinda. I also want to invite Dr. Jagi and Dr. Washira, please. Microphones with the roving mics. So this is how we'll do it. In case you... There's a question there.